Hey everybody, thank you so much, Lemon Character. Today is going to be a quick story about humans and planning for the future, for retirement and everything else. I'm still sitting down, but I will be up soon. Let me make sure everything's working here. Should be, but let's go. Thank you all for being here. This is going to be a story about where the millionaires are moving to. And humans tend to be bad planners. They also tend to stick around one place for too long. But let's figure out who the best planners are and what they're doing. And of course, this is edutainment. And in this channel, we try and make things as broad as possible. The whole idea is to share things that will have an impact on life. Now, let's jump into the guts of this session. First of all, the inspiration comes from Robot 8 in the community. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's a visual from Visual Capitalist, and it prompted me to dig deeper and share some key information. Now, I was blown away by this little chart of the exodus from different countries of high net worth individuals. First of all, HNWI, you're going to see that acronym a lot. It's people with over $1 million. And we had a weird slow period during 2020 for obvious reasons because of lockdowns and everything else. But it's caused about a huge acceleration in 2022 for many different reasons. So we're going to jump in and find out exactly what's going on. Now, first of all, before we do, I remember somebody told this to me. It was like I was always a big sailor, but a long time ago at a Fortune 100 company, somebody said to me, "The fittest rats jump first." And I'm like, I don't get that. But then I got it, because rats, like any mammal, don't like drowning. When a ship begins to sink, any rats typically historically were hiding in the cargo or engineering spaces would be the ones who got flooded first, and they would immediately go for higher ground and get off the ship. They were very clever. Typically, these rats were the ones that were fittest, smartest, and had the most money. Now, the same analogy can be applied to somebody within a corporation who has insider information, or people within countries to find out exactly what's going on. Now, as a result, the fittest rats jump first. So I thought that was a super interesting little background story from me. Anyway, let's jump in. What is an attractive place to live and retire? Well, first of all, it needs low taxes, low crime, good healthcare, good infrastructure like airports and internet so you can work from home, etc. Good jobs if you're still working or doing gigs on the side, and also crypto friendly. It's an issue that typically people didn't care about in the past. Now, some examples of some of these countries, and by the way, I'm going to step out for a second. I still firmly believe in my retire on plans. We've gone through a brutal market cycle, worst in 50 years, brutal crypto winter, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change my perspective of where Tesla is going, where Bitcoin is going, where Solana is going. So again, that's all fundamental, and nothing has changed. It's just cheaper time to buy right now. But these are some examples of countries we've covered in the past with a cost of living index, which includes many different parameters, but Portugal, Malaysia, Spain, Costa Rica, Panama, Czech Republic, Peru, and there's many, many more. But there's other factors as well you need to look at when you're thinking about where you want to live. Now, what makes an unattractive place? This is more interesting. High taxes, C19 restrictions. We will talk more about that in a minute. Lack of freedom in general. Crime, oppressive regimes. It could be poor medical systems, poor healthcare, poor infrastructure, bad weather, you name it. So there's some of the things that makes an unattractive place, and we'll talk about some of those too. Now, I wasn't able to find a specific mathematic correlation between crypto clampdown countries and high net worth individual migration, but I can tell you it's 80% very effective. So places with horrible taxes, financial oppression, crypto clampdowns are all part and parcel of the countries that had huge migration. So first of all, let's talk about how C19 impacted migration. So you can see here in 2020, high net worth individuals typically were on the move to the tune of about 110, 115,000 people a year in 2018, 2019, and it stopped in 2020. People were locked down. 2021 to a large extent too. They weren't sure where to go. And all of a sudden, people are on the move again with big plans for 2023 to move a lot. So why does that matter to you? Well, first of all, let's look at the countries losing the most high net worth individuals and the percentage of the total number of high net worth individuals for a company. So I put together a little graphic. First of all, the largest number that drained were out of Russia, 15,000 millionaires, multimillionaires, including many billionaires. There's a huge concentration of money across the top individuals in these certain countries. China was number 2, 10,000. And India, number 3. Surprising one to see India there, about 8,000 people leaving. Hong Kong, number 4. But what's really interesting is if you look at the percentage of high net worth individuals lost, Russia was running at about 15%. They lost 15% of their high net worth individuals in 1 year. Now, if you look at Ukraine, you can see here they lost 42% of their high net worth individuals in 1 year, which is quite staggering. So let's talk about some of these countries and maybe figure out some of the reasons. So Russia wins the drain game. Russia suffered definitely the biggest emigration of millionaires over the past 6 months. 15,000 in 2022 is an estimate, but probably going to be a lot more than that considering what has actually happened there. And that is 15%, and that is stunning. Now, pre-C19, it was about 9,000. So it's gone up by nearly double the amount. Now let's talk about Ukraine. And this goes back to the ability, sometimes money does empower people to move, but Ukraine is projected to suffer the greatest loss of high net worth individuals. And that's about 2,800 millionaires, or 42% of them in the country. So money gives you the opportunity to get out when things go bad. And again, go back to my analogy at the beginning. Let's talk about China. China has the largest number. Henley and Partners predicts that 10,000 high net worth individuals will leave mainland China and 3,000 from Hong Kong, so nearly 13,000 in total. But they'll take with them a combined wealth of about $65 billion. It's probably a lot higher than that, but that is a big chunk of wealth compared to the average salary in China. You can see there's a massive concentration, like many places on earth, where the top 1% control 99% or 90% of the world wealth, depending on exactly where you are. Now, we reckon the trend will explode after the zero C19 lockdown experience. People in major cities, Beijing, Shanghai, etc., were faced with absolute atrocities. Many people on the ground that I know there say it was worse than being in a war zone, worse than being in a prison. And once they got the opportunity to bounce, they are going to leave. Let's talk about another surprising one that was on the list. Just to refresh the list here again, you can see UK was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is stunning. Now, UK was the world's financial center back in the past, and it continues to see a steady loss of millionaires, and many believe it's attributable to Brexit. This trend began 5 years ago when the Brexit vote happened, and higher taxes scared away high net worth individuals. It's also been a little bit unsure about kind of crypto friendliness, etc., and they've lost 12,000 millionaires since 2017. And I know many of them have gone to places like Malaysia. They used to go to Hong Kong back in the day, but not going there anymore. And places like Portugal. But as you can see here, leadership matters. I won't dwell on this, but a lot of news out of the UK today. From Brexit to Partygate, the timeline of BJ's career. I'll just leave it there. Now let's talk about where everybody is going. These are the countries gaining the most high net worth individuals and the percentage of total. Number 1, and it's no surprise because it's also a very crypto friendly place, United Arab Emirates. Many people know it as kind of Dubai is the main city in that place. Australia and Singapore are the top 3. Then we had 4th, Israel, and USA used to be top of the list, but not anymore. So we'll dig into some of these places, but what's interesting, you've got Portugal there as well. A lot of people are talking about Portugal. A lot of people moved there from Europe. It's considered the 3rd safest country in the world per the Global Peace Index, which makes it very appealing to millionaires. It also has a nice climate and Formula One racing, a lot of other good stuff. And it's becoming the so-called Miami of Europe. The other one that popped up there is Greece. I spent some time there as a child, and it's a very popular yachting and vacation destination for the ultra wealthy. And now they're putting down roots there. And it's also other places as well. Is Silicon Valley tech millionaires in the Bay Area consider New Zealand to be the ultimate doomsday hideout, which I thought that was very interesting. So New Zealand make the list, and it's interesting as well because many of these countries, a lot of members of the audience are from too. So let's dig into UAE, why that is so popular. Obviously, a ton of private capital left Russia and Ukraine and the UK, and a lot of it is landing in Dubai. And obviously, it's for many reasons, but one of they were always focused on attracting tourism and trade with a whole bunch of reciprocated visa waivers. And they have a very agile approach to attracting high net worth individuals now, capital, talent, and also becoming crypto friendly. The other key point of this Forbes article talks about the US fading fast and China falling completely. Let's talk about Australia. Australia attracts a lot of high net worth individuals. 80,000 millionaires have moved there over the last 2 decades. People like low healthcare cost, lack of inheritance tax is a big one, a prosperous economy, and of course the weather. Sometimes it can be a little bit too sunny there, if you can believe that. And that is Australia, so they are winning the game. USA, this is one we're going to dig into a little bit because, again, sometimes the USA can be a microcosm of many, many other places. But it was a financial giant, but it's dwindling fast. And it's becoming less popular amongst migrating millionaires today than pre-C19, probably due to higher taxes and also restrictions in some places. Now let's talk about net US migration because the same thing is happening in Europe. So first of all, when you dig into the actual movement, people are moving out of high tax cities, think San Francisco, LA, Chicago, New York, etc. And they're moving to tax-free or low tax places like Nevada, Arizona, the Carolinas, North and South Carolina, Florida, etc. I did a little bit of digging, which I thought was fascinating. I calculated the net migration. There was a beautiful resource I found from the next slide. I have the resource listed there. But I calculated all of the major cities and the moves and the winners and losers by each. So first of all, the net migration, you can see on the left, you got a place like Dallas, Fort Worth, number 1 on the list in terms of number of bodies, but not as a percentage of population. So I'd calculated both, which I thought was interesting. Number 2 in terms of number of bodies was Phoenix, Arizona. Number 3, Houston. Number 4, Austin. But if you look at Austin, 5.33% of the population, 121,000 people, moved there in the last year, which is a big, big growth. Now, on the other side of the table, you can see the cities that lost people. Number 1, nearly 500,000 people left New York City, New Jersey, because everybody just wanted to get out of cities during C19. And that is a massive amount of drain. In fact, apparently a huge amount of commercial property is lying vacant in New York City alone, in Manhattan. LA, number 2, 2.25 people. San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley, Bay Area, where I am from, 3% or 143,000. But that 3% percentage is the highest of all these major metro areas. That is a big drain. But it's important as well to analyze the fact that these people that leave, they are the highest net worth individuals. People like Larry Ellison, people like Elon Musk, multi-billionaires. They're all bouncing. They're leaving to other places. And that's going to leave a huge tax dent in the budgets of these cities. Now, on the next slide, real quick, I do have the other stat. This is where I got the data. It's called Brookings Metro, that has all the data for all the movement from cities year over year. But the key thing to focus on here is the onset of the C19 situation. It brought about the first ever slowdown in growth in metro areas in decades, or perhaps at least since 1990, as far as this data goes back that I could see. And is also at the same time, we saw the growth of smaller metro areas ticked upwards a little bit, while non-metro areas and counties, people moving to more rural areas, had their highest growth in decades, which is stunning. So again, we can conclude that people wanted to get out of major cities and move into more rural areas during this C19 situation. So as always, quick conclusion, everybody. Things for you guys all to think about and plan going forward. First of all, make a plan. Things like taxes, cost of living, cost of real estate. Again, humans, as I began the whole story with, is they tend to be reticent to move, make plans, get out of Dodge, etc. But sometimes it can be very cost effective to do that. So do your own research, build out a spreadsheet, cost benefit analysis of what you're looking for. Do you want water? Do you want beach? Do you want mountains? Do you want snow? You want sun? You want humidity? You want dryness? Do you want good healthcare? Do you want proximity to an airport? Do you want low taxes? All that stuff, safety, security, transportation, internet infrastructure, you name it. Put it into a spreadsheet, calculate your cost benefit analysis, and decide if you want to move, if it makes sense. Sometimes if you are making a large amount of capital gains, it can really make sense. Then if you are thinking about moving to a different country, try get your papers. Maybe you have a grandmother or a grandfather that comes from somewhere in Europe that can give you access to maybe getting a European passport, who knows? Or moving to Panama, whatever, figure out what is easiest. El Salvador as well. I think if you invest $100,000, you can get a passport to El Salvador or a couple of Bitcoin. And remember, pack your seed phrase or gold coins and get ready to go. So a little bit different today. Markets rallying hard, which is great. Thank you all for being here. And just want to share that one. And I'll see you all tomorrow on DCA.